Hey everybody and welcome to Chairman of the Board. Today I'm talking about Museum, which is a 2 to 4 player game that takes about an hour to play. It's a game all about collecting artifacts of different cultures and different domains and placing them in your own unique museum. It's a pretty simple game on the face of it. The thing you probably notice about it first is the absolutely stellar artwork. This is one of the most striking games in terms of its artwork that I've ever seen. It's all been illustrated by absolutely revered artist Vincent Dutrait, who kind of really makes any game he touches really does stand out from amongst the crowd. It is absolutely beautiful to look at. The game comes with a whole bunch of cards, all with unique artwork on, from the whole spread of history. You've got all different cultures. You've got your African, you've got your European, you've got your kind of Oriental, and I think you've got like your American as well. Essentially, the game is the ultimate set collection game. You're trying to collect, as I said, these different cultures and different domains, such as like nautical or religion or stuff like that. So you've got kind of artifacts or like warfare of a certain type, and place them in your museum in the most kind of aesthetically pleasing way, putting them in their own little collections. And the way you can do that is very, very it's very tangible and very puzzly, because you are trying to line up as many as you can, trying to connect all the different doorways so that when your visitors of your museum are walking around your museum, they can kind of digest on what you're putting out, because everything is so displayed in the right manner. That's essentially the premise of the game, but the way the game actually works mechanically is that you spend your turn kind of picking up a card from this kind of display, all displaying these different, as I said, the different cultures. And those cards are not only useful because obviously you can put them into the museum, and they all have different values from 1 to 5, I believe. Those are pure points if they're in your museum, but you can also spend them, because these cards are also your currency, to buy other bits of or other pieces of artifacts to put into your museum. And the cool thing about the game is you've only got a certain limited hand size, and when you have to discard amongst that, they kind of go into into your discard pile. And you can not only buy from your own discard pile, but you can buy from other people's discard piles. So you have to be careful about what you're discarding, what you're keeping hold of, which ones you're going to use to spend as currency, which ones you actually want to put in your museum in the first place. There's kind of additional little help which you can get, such as like having wildcard artifacts of a certain culture, or different bonus cards you can use to kind of help you along the way. Essentially, it's a very light game, but it works really well. And I think the kind of bit that I like most about it is the puzzle aspect of it, and just the visual display of putting all your cards in rows and columns and different sets. It's just very enjoyable and very kind of satisfying to do so. At the end of the game, you're going to score points on pure set collection based on, as I said, the culture types you get, on the different domains you get, of filling certain corridors of your museum. You've got hidden secret objectives which you're going to score points for, and so on. And that's essentially how the game works. It's pretty simple. The player interaction bases on the kind of discarding of cards. As I said, you can buy cards off other people. There are different expansions you can add in as well, which add a tiny bit more depth to it. But as of right now, I'm just going to focus on the base game itself. Overall, this game, as I said, is very, very light for what it is. It's a big box. There's a lot going on in terms of visuals. I mean, it's absolutely gorgeous to look at. But as I said, the game itself is pretty light and it flows very nicely. It's very smooth, and it almost has that kind of laser-cool feel about it. It's just not much. It's not a brain burner. It's very kind of relaxing, and that kind of competitive edge of it really doesn't shine through in this one, which is nice sometimes. Sometimes I like to play games that are just fun to do, a bit of a puzzle, and just an enjoying, relaxing experience. And I get that vibe from Museum. Part of that is due to the absolutely amazing artwork, and as I said, I cannot stress it enough how good this game looks. It's so like textured and so rich in the way it looks, and everything, as I said, every card is unique. Everything has a little bit of flavor text to get a bit of historical context to it. The cards are of amazing quality. Everything just looks absolutely as good as it can. Truly one of the best looking games I've ever seen, and I think that's where this game really does shine, in that yeah, as I said, simple mechanisms, but also gorgeous to look at. And that's why I think it's kind of appeals so much. I like the way that you do have to weigh up what you're going to use to spend your cards on, which ones you're going to put into your museum, as I said, which ones you're happy to discard, and hopefully not give your opponent what he wants. Yeah, there's enough to think about to keep it interesting, but as I said, not an ultra competitive game, not an ultra kind of brain burnery game. It doesn't stress you out or anything like that. You just kind of go about your business and be a bit more, be sensible along the way in order to play well. The game takes, or the box says the game takes about an hour to play. I think that's about right. I think if you're relatively used to the game, you can play it quicker than that. I think the first person to get to 50 points, which is obviously 50 points worth of artifacts inside your museum, will trigger the end game. And then I think it's like one more turn after that, or I think it might even end immediately. And those can really rack up quite quickly because, as I said, some of these artifacts are worth 5 points each. So when you think about it that way, it's only 10 different artifacts in your museum, and that triggers the end of the game. But obviously you're going to be playing 2s and 3s and 4s, and you're going to keep plodding along. You can really save up a bunch of cards and do a huge turn and put loads in your museum in one go. It's just a nice, enjoyable game. It plays in a great amount of time. The rules overhead isn't much at all. The visual aspect is absolutely out of this world. Interaction is enjoyable enough to keep it interesting, and it doesn't completely feel like multiplayer solitaire or anything like that. The puzzle aspect is really enjoyable and so satisfying. I just love laying the cards out and seeing them all in their different categories and stuff like that. Yeah, so overall it's a really solid game, and one that I would recommend if you're looking for, if you do like your set collection, you're looking for something on the medium light end of things, one that looks out of this world. Well, I think that most people could play this and enjoy this. I think, as I said, the rules themselves are not hard to understand at all. And ultimately, yeah, it's a really solid game. The theme of it is really cool, and I think that's what wraps everything together so well. It's that thematic ties is just so there. As I said, you've got that kind of blueprint of your own museum. You're filling them with all these interesting artifacts from around the world. Who doesn't enjoy that? That's really cool. You can learn from this. It's, as I said, it's just an absolutely it's delightful to play. It really is an absolute joy. Set up and tear down time is not too bothersome either. You've got a few decks of cards. You have your own museum each, and those museums are double-sided, so you can play with everybody playing the same museum, or everybody having their own kind of unique layout. And they all seem fairly balanced to me. I don't see a problem there at all. But yeah, definitely want to check out if you like your medium light games, you like your set collection. I said this one is what I would say kind of the ultimate set collection game, because there is so much going on, and you can link them together quite well, because not only can you have maybe all the Roman artifacts, but you might have all the Roman nautical artifacts, and those Roman nautical artifacts can link onto maybe, I don't know, the Egyptian nautical artifacts. So you can really kind of do a nice layout of your museum to get as many points as possible. And you're not restricted either, because the game allows you to constantly tinker with your museum, move things around. So you're not kind of frozen, and it's not a rigid game where you can really get kind of shafted by your old decisions, because as the game develops, you can constantly muddle things around, which is nice. So yeah, this one definitely gets a very good rating from me. I definitely recommend you check this one out, if only just for the absolutely gorgeous artwork from Vincent Dutrait. This guy is an absolutely master of his craft, and it really is a game to behold. That's Museum. I said, really recommend this one. So if you have enjoyed this video, please hit like and subscribe to my channel, and check out my other videos too. For everyone else, I'll see you next time on Chairman of the Board. Bye.